Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're all having a lovely day. Well, my imagination and my mind has been whirring, so I thought, why don't we have some fun today? Get your tea or coffee ready. Because, I don't know how to put this. I think the best way to put this is just purely my imagination. None of what I'm about to say is true. And none of what I'm about to suggest is ever going to happen. Okay, please bear that in mind. Now, let's have a gossip. Gossip about things that have never happened and are never going to happen. 100%. Okay? The King and Queen, as we all know, are heading to Australia. And they're going to have a tour there. And I can't wait to see the outfits that Queen Camilla wears. I mean, that's just my thing. I'm sure the King will look stunning as well, but I'm really into what the ladies wear. And I'm sure it's going to be a roaring success. But it suddenly occurred to me, what if, and as I say, this is never going to happen, and no one has told me this, what if during their tour, which some people who want rid of the monarchy would like to see being a big disaster, what if rip-roaring headlines started appearing about another member of the royal family who did a tour in Australia back in 2018? And I'm just imagining what sort of headlines they could be. I mean, they could be really big ones. They could be like about things that happened during that tour. Now, there are things that happened during that tour that none of us really understand or got to the bottom of, like why Meghan suddenly had to leave that market. There are theories about some UN organisation, UN Women or something like that. There's lots of theories. No one knows why a female member of staff, and I think it was during that tour, was seen rushing out of a building and sitting in a car in floods of tears. Was it that particular tour where Meghan had a red dress on and she came off an aeroplane and there was a price tag hanging off the bottom of her skirt? I mean, that is remiss, isn't it? Whoever was in charge of that. I mean, Meghan herself must have thought, what's that brushing on my leg? What's going on there? Who knows what happened on the aeroplane? Members of the press were there. They complained that, as opposed to William and Catherine, that Harry didn't sort of go and spend some time with them or be nice to them or, you know, make them laugh. They just said, thank you for coming. Not that you were invited, which is extremely rude. Extremely rude. Not just to the monarchy, but to the Foreign Office that organise these kind of tours. Perhaps there will be, I don't know, photographic evidence of certain stuff. Perhaps there will be video evidence of stuff that may or may not have happened. Who knows? I'm just thinking, wouldn't the timing of that be just perfect for the King and Queen? They're over there for, I think, 10 days, isn't it? Is it 10 days? I mean, bless them. It's a long, long way to go. And the Queen does not like flying. I'm right there with you, Camilla. I am right there with you. I'm not keen on flying, which is kind of weird for someone who's married to a pilot who's obsessed with aeroplanes. But, and I mean, who knows what PR is going on behind the scenes. Some people who work at the palace can be very, very savvy. And often these sorts of things, it's frustrating for all of us thinking, you know, we want to see more about this. For example, the bullying allegations at the palace. We want to know more about that. But sometimes these things are never released. And sometimes it's all down to timing. Now, there have been stories about Meghan. Allegedly this, allegedly that, allegedly the other. What would paint a very different story is if there was undeniable video evidence of something. I can't imagine what. I mean, when I go and stay, when I'm a guest, what I normally do, whoever it is, I normally say, I want you to get out of your house. I want the entire house to myself. And I usually, if they object, I normally say, who do you think you're fucking talking to? Fuck off. Not that I'm suggesting Meghan has ever done anything like that. It's fascinating, actually. I'm going to really enjoy this royal tour, and I am praying that the Queen has taken some tiaras and crowns with her, because I think Camilla looks really stunning when she has the jewels on. And I particularly, in fact, I think my favourite photograph of her was in the sort of navy blue cape in Paris with the wind blowing her hair. I thought she looked really lovely in that. I mean, you couldn't sort of create that type of look. It was pure, they just were there in the moment. So I'm really looking forward to that sort of thing. I do hope that the officials in Australia, those that want a republic, unashamedly want it, I hope that they are courteous, not only to the King and Queen, but to the people who elected them. They represent everybody, and they represent people who did not vote for them. And these state occasions are to highlight the country itself. So I really hope they see it. I saw that some Republican movement had written to the King saying that Australia wanted to become a republic, and that the King had replied and said, it's not a matter for me to decide. However, you know, he wished the people of Australia well, whatever they decide to do. You know, so, and that Republican organisation, I think, spoke very highly of the King and said, he's, you know, what a gentleman, what a lovely man. You know, it's not about him, it's not about his family, it's about, you know, what the basis of what they want. Well, it'd have to be a hell of a headline, wouldn't it, about Meghan to knock the King and Queen off the front pages in perhaps not a way Meghan would like. I mean, as I say, none of this is going to happen. And if it does, I mean, it would blow me down with a feather. I will be referring back to this video and going, well, I can't believe it. How on earth did that happen? How did I guess that? It would be funny though, wouldn't it? What's this about Harry staying in South Africa? I thought that Meghan's puff people, I like that. I thought the puff people had said he was home with her and the kids. Or is he not? I don't know where he is. I mean, where's Harry? Where is Harry? Where is Harry? I must order. Actually, you know, I was going to order this full size of Harry. And then I thought, well, Graham's got a mask. I might just make a kind of a Guy Fawkes looking thing and put it in a cheap suit with Harry's face in it. And then I could drag it around. Harry! Literally drag it around the ground. Because I think the whole world can see the type of marriage that it is. And if we're all completely wrong, I mean, Harry and Meghan have put on a bloody good act of a henpecked husband and a dominant wife. Dominant, that's putting it mildly, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure she's not like that in private. I'm sure she would never demand to stay in an entire building that it wasn't, you know, good enough for her. I'm sure she wouldn't do that at all. I'm sure she wouldn't be profane. No, of course not. But if there were to be any video evidence out there or photographs of any, I don't know, unusual things, happenings, I would be very interested in seeing them. And I'm sure a lot of you would as well. And people, for example, like Denise Welsh, who's done nothing but stick up for Meghan despite whatever. Well, they'd find themselves in a bit of a tricky wicket, wouldn't they? If everybody's looking at a video going, what the hell's going on there? And some people who worked at the palace, who refer to themselves as the Sussex Survivors Club, might feel vindicated. And a lot of things might come to light, but as I say, it's never going to happen, is it? I just thought we could all have like a daydream today and imagine in an alternate reality in the future what it would be like. Oh, I'm sure the King and Queen wouldn't wish any ill on Meghan, but I sort of imagine them over their breakfast, their soft-boiled eggs, reading the papers and smirking to themselves just a little bit after all the allegations of racism from Omid Scobie in his lovely book, Endgame. Endgame. I told you at the time, what a perfect name for the book, because that was it. Game over. Where's Omid Scobie? Omid. Oh, into the void. I don't know where he is. I don't know what he's saying these days. He had a lot to say back in the day, didn't he? Apparently he's writing some fictitious palace thing about, I'm sure it's not based on any truth or anybody in particular. It's based on a multiracial woman who marries into the British royal family and is horribly bullied by the evil racist royal family, but it's all going to be imaginary or something. He's writing some shit like that, apparently. I might read something like that, or I'll probably wait until they turn it into a TV adaptation. Because that's another thing, I think, in the future, because the royal family, all the Windsors, they are history in the making, as we all are. And the reason that they do a lot of documentaries and historians pore over everything, every detail, and make programs about them, like David and Wallace, is because a lot of people will say, oh, I remember that, I remember where I was, or my family was going through something like that. And then long after everybody's dead, everybody still talks about those Windsors because, oh, Henry VIII, I mean, I bet he thought, oh, no one will be talking about this time next year. Oh, Henry, oh dear. No, nobody forgot. Schools across the land have studied your 6 wives and what you did, Henry. Never going to live that one down. So, I mean, Henry's a classic example of, you know, when you fuck up and you're a Windsor, it is not smoothed over. Might be smoothed over during a lifetime and people are kind and they play it down, but in 100 years when we're all dead, it's gloves off, isn't it? And they can say exactly what they like. So yeah, and Meghan will be no exception to that. They will be talking about Meghan in 100 years. They will, believe me. Probably not in kind terms. They will be talking about Harry in 100 years. Mostly as sort of entertaining sideshow rather than relevance to do with the actual institution of the monarchy, because they have no relevance at all to the monarchy. I'd love to know what sort of imaginary headlines that you guys think might come up in the future. Perhaps while the King and Queen are in the magical land of Australia. Half of me, I envy them, how lovely. But the other half of me, I understand, you know, how tiring it's going to be. And what a tremendous effort it is. And hats off to the King and hats off to the Queen. I think she takes like a tranquiliser to be able to fly. She really doesn't like it. And but I do hope that she didn't forget to pack the tiaras. And I'm sure she would never have a price tag hanging off the bottom of her skirt. How they must have laughed about that back in the palace while, you know, Harry and Meghan were... they must have thought, oh dear, either a member of staff is like too busy crying and being upset or doing something else, or a member of staff really doesn't like the Duchess and did that on purpose. Or maybe the Duchess did it to herself. The Duchess of Sussex. Yes. Well, we'll see. You know, the press are a funny old thing. They pick their moment when they want to release stuff. I see a lot of newspapers now are charging for subscription. Someone was talking about Sky News is winding down. I don't know. Well, why don't these news organisations try actually talking about shit that we're all interested in, for a change? And why don't they try not taking money off PR people to say black is white and white is black? You know, and actually start telling the truth. That could be a successful strategy for the newspapers to survive, and newsrooms, you know. Stop talking shit to everybody, because everybody's got the internet and we all know that you're lying. Even your own presenters know they're being forced to tell lies to the audience and treat us like we're all thick. Well, anyway, that's enough of that. I'm on a day off today. I'm not doing any DIY at all. I'm going to try and just relax today. The weather's quite grim still, so I can't do any matting. I might do a little bit on a spiral staircase because that's a fun thing to do. In the meantime, I shall. I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to come out of Oz. Thank you very much for listening, as always.